Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Rio. This is lesson 1 of the ultimate guide to 3v3. This is going to be a tier list of all the companions. This is the 1v1 tier list. I'm just clearing this in the recording. So, anyway, this is going to be the tier list. This will also work as a standalone video if you just want to see my opinions. But this is also me telling you guys which companions are good. So let's get right into it. Perfect. So this is going to be the 3v3 tier list of these companions. Okay? 3v3 tier list. Yeah, not much to say. Now, the reason why there's no F tier or Shadow Realm tier is because any companion I do not include in that tier is what I would just call, F or useless. And I just don't. There's so many useless companions that it's not really worth my time for me to put them in the tier list, if that makes sense. So let's do it. 3v3 tier list. Now, Bar. Probably put him in D tier. Once again, this is 3v3. The meta is Musketeers. So Bar is really, he's so good in 1v1. But 3v3 is really just going to lack. Honestly, we'll give him C tier. If you're against like a lot of melee units, I guess, he can kind of work. The summons could also be okay, but really not great. Alright. Barnabas, D tier. Yeah. Defensive utility against melee. Not going to be very good in 3v3. Billy the Kid, I guess for whatever reason you're running Buccaneer and you need, if you maybe haven't bought any companions, you want another Musketeer, I guess he's okay, but I don't know. Bonnie and Rackham, I'll put her in, I'll put her in B tier, honestly. I mean, if you want a nice Overwatch 3 unit. She got some supers. Because some chains, but only 4 range. I mean, she's fine, I guess. Bonnie Ann, obviously S tier. It's 3v3, man. And she's literally like one of the queens of 3v3. Okay. She's got a heal, so that can help you with early game combos, surviving them. She has got the Scatter Blast, which if you combo that with some other damage, that can be a lot of damage to add up. And overall 5 range chains. She, quick draw 3 most of the time, so she's like great anti-musket. Just a great 3v3 companion overall. Buffalo Bill. I'll put Bill in the A tier. The people might be surprised by how high he's ranked, but 5 range. Any unit that's 5 range for 3v3 is already like pretty insane. If they're 5 range and they have at least some decent other aspects of them, they're pretty good. Bonnie Ann is like 5 range plus insanely good talents. Buffalo Bill, he's 5 range. He's got true grits for countering muskets. He lacks burst fires, but overall, he also has an Overwatch, so you can counter Bonnie Ann. You give him either Overwatch 1 or Overwatch 3, or sorry, not Bonnie Ann. You can counter Nausicaa. Pretty decent. Carcarius, I'll put Carcarius in D tier due to the fact that he has Purge and he has a Jobu's Embrace that can be used for combos. I'm not going to put him in F tier, but he's not great, alright? And he's also will-based. He is, like, not, I mean, he's not terrible. He's not like a Emmett who will get completely ripped by agility units, but he's not great. Chantel, obviously S tier. 5 range, insane chains. A buff that can help a lot, like probably usually almost all the units on the field, and 2 sniper shots for early game combos. So if you like Witch Doctor, Musketeer, Privateer, her sniper shots help so much. Amazing companion. Contessa, we'll put her in A tier. She's no Musketeer, but she's definitely one of, if not the best non-Musketeer units for 3v3, since that backstab, if comboed right, it can just one-shot a unit. So you can definitely hide her and get a trade for a unit. Duck Holiday, I'll put him in D tier. The thing is, I mean, he's not, honestly, no, I'll put him in C tier, okay? He has grits, he has burst fires, only 4 range, of course, but I mean, he's got grits and burst fires. You can give him grit 3, quick draw 1, burst fire 2, and he's not a completely horrible unit. Not too bad. Eggshen, I'll put him in D tier, and this also applies to Zhengcha. Zhengcha and Eggshen, D tier. you know, they're melee units, but they're okay. If they can be decent for countering musketeers with like their if you can actually get them in, if you do a bypass or something, they can kind of work. So not completely horrible. El Toro, I'll also put him in D tier. The Spirit is not as needed with all the musketeer units, but I mean, you know, he's okay, I guess. The Spirit can do something, all right. Emmett, S tier. I'm gonna put Emmett in S tier, but I'll be honest, I would not use Emmett very much unless you do not have Exeter. So if you only have Emmett, whatever, having at least one otter, having an otter on Pribe is usually kind of needed, so you can have some slows and whatnot. But overall, he gets destroyed by agility units, so Exeter really does outshine Emmett. So, you know, he's kind of like someone I would put like in the middle, S and A tier, because he can be good. There's a great group heal. The slows, the reduce is great, but he gets so destroyed and chained on by agility units because he has such low agility. But I'll still put him in S tier. Exeter, just the better Emmett, right? So you can actually give him stuns since he does not get destroyed by musketeers, and then he's pretty much the same thing as Emmett, just no group heal, but he's actually a musketeer, so it's very, very good. Flanders, this is a tricky one. I'll put Flanders in A tier because I guess, you know, you can only run her when you're running a swashbuckler. So I guess, you know, if you fog your Flanders, that hidden hit, plus if you have Blade Storm on her, it can sometimes, you know, one-shot an unsuspecting musketeer. So, you know, and then she also has the agility buff, which is really, really good. So if you're running without a musketeer, having a Flanders, you know, mainly for that buff is really good. And then she's an okay unit. Goronado, I'm gonna put him in B tier. The thing about Goro, he's like one of the melee units that can kind of work because of his double movement. You know, Contessa can kind of work because high movement and a hide. Flanders can work because she has a buff, and she can be fogged because, you know, so, you know, if you fog Goros and then they just charge over and can one-shot someone, they can be really good. But overall, he's not the most consistent choice because Goro can get kind of destroyed. All right. Like, if he does not get a one-shot on a unit and then he just gets absolutely melted by a musket line, then you've just kind of thrown away your unit. But if you can use him to get a trade, maybe if you have a strength buff on him or something, he can kind of work out. All right. The Haywire. So, for the melee Haywire units, I'll put them... I'm not going to put the Marine there, but these two, I'll put them in D tier. They can have some chains, and then their abilities are okay. But they're not great, all right? They're not great. The Haywire Musketeer, on the other hand, S tier. 5 range, and then you'll give him like Overwatch 3, Quick Adjust 1, Double Tap 2, or sorry, Double Tap 1, Burst Fire 2. So pretty much pretty much Chantal epics, okay? He's pretty much a Chantal, really, really, really good. Not much else to say about him. He's pretty much a Chantal. All right, and then but with Haywire shots, and Haywire shots are super overpowered. So he's not quite as good as Chantal with like her sniper shots, but you can get him on any class. And yeah, so definitely a very good unit. But you know, he comes in packs, so he's harder to get. So definitely, you do not see him very much. Jane Canary, A tier, the exact same thing as Buffalo Bill, pretty much good anti-musket, 5 range, can defend against Nausicaa pretty well. So definitely A tier. Next we have the goats. I'll put them. I'm only gonna put Kanpo in D tier. Kisuke is F tier due to the fact that, you know, you're not really gonna buy it. The only time Kanpo will really work in 3v3. I mean, if you're a witch doctor and you're free to play, and you need a third unit, he can kind of work, but he's not great. So yeah, I'll put them here, but yeah, definitely not the best. Lefty, B tier, great for free to play witch doctors. 5 range, you know, he's got burst fires and double taps and a hit. He's actually not too bad. Pretty good free to play unit. Debating whether to put him in B or A tier. I'll keep him in B tier. Pepe de Torto and Louis Lebisque, A tier. Those bombs are really good for getting combos off. So if you stack the damage with like other AoE hits, they can do a lot. And his specifically Louis Lebisque trap can be used to put it behind a pillar and stop them putting wounded units behind pillars. And then 5 range, quick draw, and Overwatch 3, so they have a lot of utility. Pretty good units overall for sure. What's next? Nausicaa, S tier. She's the only musketeer who can move and shoot, so it's nice to have at least one charger on your team. And usually the charger is going to be a Nausicaa, since she's a musketeer. She has grits, so she can chain off other musketeers hitting her and all that. Pretty darn good unit overall. Definitely S tier unit. Pierre Quint, I'm gonna put him at B tier, right? His buff can be kind of good, and then I guess, you know, he can kind of chain down a musketeer, but overall most of the time he has like Vengeance Strike 3 on him, so I don't know. Definitely not the best 3v3 unit, but he's a charger. He's free for Buccaneers, so not completely horrible, right? Old Scratch is overpowered. Yeah, Old Scratch is overpowered. I'll put him in S tier, but I don't know, any 3v3 match where Scratch is allowed. But if Scratch is for some reason allowed, just bring all 3 Old Scratches and just have constant buff. It makes your combos insane. Not much to say about him. The Nutcracker. I'll put the Nutcracker at... I'll put him at A tier. He's got grit. He can have grit 3, so he can be nice counter musket. Honestly, I'll put him S tier. Good unit overall, honestly. He's honestly a good unit. The Nutcracker, he can have grit 3 plus burst 2, so he has some chains, and then grits, and then 5 range, of course. So I would call him, like, you know, a better Jane or Bill. This is what I would call him. Just, you know, a bit better of a Jane or Bill, because he's like Jane and Bill, but with burst fires, right? That's the one thing they lack. So definitely good, definitely a good unit. Rapbeard, I'll put in. I will put Rapbeard in D tier. If you are for some reason playing against a Buccaneer or like a bunch of Chargers, he can kind of work, but he's not great. Honestly, I'm just gonna remove Barnabas from that list. Yeah, I don't see any use from him in 3v3. Yeah, Rapbeard, he struggles in 3v3 with the lack of chargers, making it so his utility is just kind of lost. Not great utility. Subadai and like Temujin, you can kind of put them at D tier. Kind of like Eggshen, if you can like bypass them or somehow get them through Overwatch 3 or whatever, I mean, they can kind of do work, but they're not going to be great. Really, they're not. Yeah, you know, we'll put all the starter companions down here. They're Kobe and Wagyu. Once again, more of 1v1 units for like their first strike, for like his first strike 3 utility and all that. 3v3, not gonna be great. Bill Peacock, I'll put him at B tier. All right. Yeah, I'll put Bill at B tier. I'm also just gonna move my bar down to C tier right here. But Bill Peacock, yeah, he only has 4 range, but he has grit 3, burst 2, and a double tap. So he's got some chains, some stuns. You know, he's okay. decent free-to-play unit for Privateer. And then, who else? Think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it of like the actual really even usable companions. We'll look over the list one more time. See if there's anyone that could be moved around. S tier looks good. Yeah, A tier looks good. B tier looks good. C tier, we only got him. I feel like there's probably another C tier unit we could put in here. I mean, really, there's not. Honestly, there's not really any other C tier unit, because the thing about the D tier units is that there's just not enough for me to put them in C. All right. So yeah, that's my 3v3 tier list for the companions. The other thing is Lemba Moonskull is not on the list, but if Lemba Moonskull was, he would be an S tier. And same with Gore, he's not on the list, but if he was, he'd be an S tier. But you know, they're usually banned, so just like Scratch. So it's like, you know, it's no big deal to talk about them or not. So yeah, that's my 3v3 tier list. I also have a 1v1 tier list, so go check that out if you want. And peace.